Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto, Willies. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTO. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willies. Good morning, Houston.
That is
good morning, Harris County.
Willies.
Good morning
Let
to
us
the
engage.
great state of
It is
Texas, and of course, good
done
morning
right.
to Northeast Texas, Southeast Texas, Northwest Louisiana, Southwest Louisiana, and every nook and cranny receiving our signals every single weekday. Folks, first of all, as well, you know what we say. Welcome to the entire world. Why? Who receive our signals through the magic of the internet, also known as ARPANET, created by we the people, not that billionaire or that other billionaire or that other billionaire. Don't be fooled, folks. You know, in this next election, we have a fight. And I tell you what, I'm going to do that. I'm going to talk about this after we do the studio and the magic from the geniuses back there. So without further ado, let's go to our genios, the geniuses in the studio. Good morning, Howard. Good morning, Jacques.
Those heinous geniuses. They're at it again. The tin cans and stringer holding up to permit our 100,000 watt transmitter blazing across Southeast Texas and Southeast Louisiana. You're listening to KPFT Houston. How was that for big voice announcer?
And to think that you are the guy who just likes the music side of the business. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I wanted to.
So good. You're so good at it, man.
All I ever wanted to be in my life was a disc jockey. That's it. Play records on the radio for all of my life. And what have I not done? Play records on the radio for all of my life. The times that I've had jobs in radio stations where I could play songs, and I really enjoyed it. It was just one of those things like, okay, well, here's another great song we can play. But yet, there always seems to be a block in the way. I don't know what it is. I was thinking, Egberto.
Yes.
I was thinking that, we're getting a lot of news and information saying, oh, inflation is down. Well, yeah, okay. For who? When I go to the store to buy some food, I'm looking at the prices going, inflation's not down. These prices haven't gone down. I look at my paycheck. My paycheck is not inflated. It's not gone up. So can you please explain to me, and I don't want to put you on the spot before we get to Jack, but we'll get to it. Explain to me, inflation is down for who? That's what I'd like to know.
Yeah, let me explain that, because this is important for people to understand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Price rises rarely go down. Let me give an example. Let's say inflation is, to make it easy, I'm going to say a high number, 10% per year. For year number one, inflation is 10%. Bacon used to cost, let's say, $1 a pound, right? In 2021, inflation was, let's say, 10%. That bacon is no longer $1.10. It is no longer $1. It is now $1.10 because inflation was 10% in that year. Now, if inflation in 2022 then is at, let's say, 5%, that new price of bacon will be 5% of 110 more. So it would now, let's call it about $1.15. So in those 2 years, the first year was 10% inflation. The second year was 5% inflation. Inflation fell between 2021 and 2022, but your prices haven't fallen. Inflation has stopped. The rise in prices has stopped. So therefore, that price of $1.15 for bacon that's at 200 that in 2012 remains at $1.15, but it's not going any higher. So at that point, inflation is zero. So even though the price remains at $1.15, it'll never, ever, hardly, except if it's something like oil that trades on a commodity, etc., or there's a spot market drop in the bacon, etc., will change. So in the aggregate, what corporations always benefit from is inflation that even though the prices are going to stop rising, they stay where they are at. If they change, if they back up, let's say in year 2024, bacon drops to $1.10. There's another thing called deflation, and that is what scares economists to kingdom come, because then deflation means prices are falling. And what normally happens in an economy is your wages, even though it hasn't happened, okay? I'm telling you how real capitalist economies should work. They never really work that way because it has always been a fraud. What happens then is if you go ahead now and drop the price of bacon from $1.15 back to $1, let's say back to $1 in 2024, right? That is now called deflation. And it's the thing that economists and capitalists hate the most. Why? Because technically speaking, what happens is as inflation goes up, you notice they always talk about wages keeping up with inflation or wages growing faster than inflation. And what has happened over the last 2 years is wages have been growing at a faster clip than inflation. So as prices go up, your wages are supposed to come up and meet this increase in prices. It has not happened over the last 40 or 50 years in the aggregate. In select years, it has happened. But if you take a look at the curve that says how much earnings we have, what compared to what we make, it's a different story. What it is, Brother Reynolds, is our economic system is a fraud for the billionaire. And we just keep hearing these magical things over and over again. The prices are not going to, on most things, are not going to fall. Inflation being zero just means they're going to stop rising. That's all it means. When you get to inflation of zero, it means the prices will rise no more. Or when you get an inflation that is 2% as opposed to 10%, it simply means inflation is going up at a slower rate. Okay. So, yeah. So, I mean, it is not, I mean, technically speaking, it's not complicated. It's just not fair, you know, and it is something that the corporate sector takes advantage of every single time, because while inflation goes up, what you find in dividends and all of that goes up, but your wages don't necessarily go up. So a class of people do well and a class doesn't do well. Anyway, that's the answer.
Oh, very, very good explanation. I just, I'm standing there in the grocery store thinking inflation is down, but yet prices are not down. But that means the prices have stabilized, so they're going to stay there for a while. Now, yes. Deflation for prices would be good for the consumer. Yes. And what you're not getting on the actual product, the profit that you're not getting on the actual product, you would get more because he'll buy more at a cheaper price, and therefore they will get their profits and probably even more profits if the deflation should happen. Nobody ever said, remember when I talk about businessmen and the capitalist guys, these guys are not smarter than anybody else. They're just able to take your money. Okay. But they're smarter than, they're not smarter than anybody else. Yeah, we need to get to Jack here because we've got callers calling in. So, Jack, while you're doing your thing, turn my mic off and I'll go catch the callers here.
All right. Good morning, Egberto.
Good morning, Jack. How are you doing, my brother?
I'm going to follow that up with some talk about sex here.
Oh, okay.
Men, when it comes to women's reproductive rights, I think men should be much more supportive of the women. This is an issue where the man needs to stand behind the woman and the men need to take responsibility for their part of the sex act, i.e. contraception. If sex is for pleasure, don't go for the home run. Keep it on the playing field.
I like that. Jack. Responsibility, personal responsibility, and all the good stuff. Yeah. You're absolutely right, sir.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing every time we talk about women's reproductive issues. The man needs to be right there with the woman, no matter what her opinion is, or what her stance is.
Let me tell you, Jack, it's interesting because where I come from, we used to have phrases like it's the women who get pregnant and women this and women are, if they don't want to do this. I mean, and I came over, like I said, I came over here as sexist. A few years later, I was taught well by the right kind of folk to do things right. So there you go. Anyhow, thank you, my brother. Let me see who's here. Okay, Melissa, talk to me. How you doing?
Good morning, Houston. How are you? How are you, Egberto?
I am doing fine. Talk to me, my friend.
So my topic today is tariffs. Do you know that every time and anytime somebody sends something from overseas, the customer gets charged with the bill? Do you know? The customer, the person who sends the shipment over, gets taxed with the bill for the tariff that they're charging overseas.
Oh yeah. In other words, if a company sends me something,
yes.
And it's it's an item that's fall under the tariff schedule, I
yes.
have to pay the tariff to receive the product. Yes.
Yes. For example, if you send, say you're enjoying yourself overseas and you find a pretty little trinket or a big trinket and you want to bring it over and you want to send it before you get home, right? Back to America.
Right.
You
yes.
have to pay the storage fee, which i.e. tariff from the customs, and it charges you like $225 a day, sir, a day.
What kind of product are you talking about?
Me specifically, I'm talking about instruments. Do you know that my drums cost $225 a day to sit in a storage before I can get here to receive it? Even if I receive it, the person has to, and whoever holds it has to, one, claim the ticket. If they don't claim your receipt, they say, oh, we got to get your custom order. They don't take your receipt that you have. They got to.
Wait, let me back up a second. What kind of product is this that they're charging you $200 a day?
Instrument, a drum. I got 3 drums.
A drum. Oh, a drum. A drum. It sent to you? Was it? Got it.
I need to say this. I have 3 drums sitting somewhere in somebody's storage, but because of a tariff, they're charging $225 a day. Do you know my instrument of 4K to get out as an individual? That's crazy. Okay, I am not a business. I am
no. Let me just say let's talk about that offline. That is crazy because what happens is if you ship through USPS, right? The United States Postal Service.
Nope,
the only thing that you're
Nope, this is not USPS. This is a foreign entity that's holding my package hostage.
Okay, great. Let me back up then. We talk about this sort of stuff all of the times. You are dealing now with the private sector. Okay.
Yes.
When you're dealing with the private sector, that's why they do as they please. There are 2 parts to it when you're dealing with the private sector. One is a tariff that you have to pay for whatever you bring in. And that is very generally speaking for most products, that's very inexpensive. You know what I'm saying? It is inexpensive. Now, for the private company that you ship through, right? Like if it's a FedEx or a UPS or a DHL, they can do whatever they want to do beyond the tariff because it's a private company. Now, if it is sent through U.S. mail, the only thing that you're responsible for is the shipping charges and the tariff. Nothing more, nothing less. The private companies are the extorters because they can do as they please. And that is the law.
I'm putting today, this morning, you know how, we represent KPFT, but I'm not going to say that other radio station. But there's this thing called Donkey of the Day. So I'm putting Turkish Airlines as Donkey of the Day for charging me $4K to get 3 drums that ain't even worth $4K, okay? Because of tariffs. So if y'all want to vote in that other person that is going to charge overseas terrorists, guess what, honey? What they call them? Basement dwellers.
No, but let me tell you, if the drums are not
the customer for that tariff,
right.
Don't do it.
Let me just tell you a suggestion, Melissa. Let me give you a suggestion, okay? If the drums aren't worth the $4K, what I would do, if you have contacts where you are and you really wanted those drums, you buy new drums and you have it shipped. But anyway, thank you,
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. I did.
Have a great day now.
What they're charging. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, wait. One more thing. When things like this happen, the way you get back at companies is just tell your story and put it out there and share it to as many blogs as you can. And what happens is these companies usually see that their name is turned into dirt. And since you're telling the truth, you can't be sued. So you're telling the truth, but you're just making people aware. Thank you very much, Melissa. You have a wonderful day. All right, let's go to Jacob. Come on in, Jacob.
Yes, blessings in the AM. And she said she's going to give him donkey of the day. That's crazy.
Talk to me, my brother.
I give her a hee-haw, a donkey noise on that one. She know what I'm talking about. That's crazy. Right. But for yesterday, man, ADOS does not mean African descendant of slave. It's American descendant of slave.
American. I'm sorry. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, sir.
African.
Thank you.
And what they feel is, which I agree, that, okay, do you believe in reparations?
Absolutely.
Okay. They feel that reparations should be only to those other descendants of those who was enslaved in this country. Somebody coming from other places, they could go there and take it up with because they're running pretty much. And now Jamaicans running Jamaica. The Jamaicans are running it. The British is gone. They pretty much is running it. And Nicaragua, Panama, you know what I mean? It's not like it was. Like, even though here, the English is they open it up. So it's not just the English and the French. At one time, it's the English from England and French, because French has Louisiana Purchase, and the English. It wasn't the Germany, and they was doing other things, other part of the world. But at that time, it was Germany, Irish, and things of that nature here in this country. When, before the 1776. And then the immigrants from other nations, Yugoslavia, not Yugoslavia, but up in Europe came to this particular country. So, they are talking about that the people, and you know how you tell, Egberto, you could tell by the last name. We're still carrying their last name, Egberto. We're still carrying their last names.
Let me just say this, Jacob, because I think this is important. I am not looking for as a Black Panamanian. I'm not looking for reparations here in the United States or anywhere for that matter. I don't have to have reparations. Is reparations due me? I think reparations is due every single descendant of a slave that really busted their butt for the countries that they're in. What I'm saying is that the ADOS movement is divisive. When I did some interviews, right, and I interviewed several different sects of ADOS, both here in Houston, Baltimore, and other places. And the rhetoric was not a rhetoric of. First of all, we haven't even gotten to the point where reparation is a thing. But one of the things that these folks that lead the reparations group were actively telling, Caribbean folks or Latin folks or whatever is, but this isn't for you. It was sort of a standoffish way of saying you're not included. All right. It was a divisive manner in the way it was done. I don't think you're going to find a whole lot of.
Well, they were telling the truth, right?
No, it's not. It is not that. Here's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the following. There were a lot of people helping in that regards. There are a lot of, if you follow Marcus Garvey or any of these other folks, there's a lot of folks that were involved in the liberation of slaves as well. So what I'm saying is what I'm saying, my dear brother, it is you don't even need to go there. You shouldn't even be going there because slavery was an international thing. And if you really want to be technical about it, it is something that should be done. The reparations of the trade should be done on an international level, because if you take a look at the interests that created it, they were international interests. The masters in America had international interests around the world. In other words, the sugar plantation.
That's not true, bro. That's not true.
No. Let me
go ahead.
My brother, can I finish? Can I finish, please?
Yes,
come on. You know, we talk.
Yeah, absolutely.
What happens here? If you take a look at the sugar plantations in Cuba, okay, the sugar plantations in Cuba had a beneficiary of the United States and elsewhere. You look at the banana plantations throughout Central America. You look at the sugar plantations and the cocoa plantations, etc., in Jamaica and all these other. It was all an international ring. Okay, where the spoils, most of the spoils came directly to the United States as being the major power. So if some of the I am not asking for it personally, Jacob, but I'm saying is if you follow the money, let's be technical here. And then I really want to get on the subject that we're supposed to talk about. But let me just but brother, I want you to see this. I want you to see the picture and for the audience to see it as well. Because it also goes not only for Black Americans, but for all Americans and all people. Here's what I'm talking about. Assuming that ADOS is really for reparations for just Black Americans, right? And not people from around, not blacks for around the world. Like I said,
people in okay, you don't go because you don't want to hang up. Let me get as long as you let me. I'm gonna be quiet. Let me say something though.
Go ahead.
We can't worry about. We know what happened around the world. Jamaica doing anything, Haiti doing anything. We worry about us, and what we talking about has to do here in this soil. We can't take up y'all cause. We're gonna deal with them for ourselves, but. Like yesterday, you say you can go there, you go there. No, I'm not going nowhere because my last name and what happened to my ancestors happened on this land. They can handle their business over there in Dominican Republic. That's y'all business. This is our business.
Again, now let me listen. Let me tell you, Jacob, stop for a while and hear me. I didn't say just listen to me, not just hear me. Because you're given the talk of the American master, the capitalist. That's how a capitalist would think. And let me explain why. Because all you are seeing is what you think concerns you solely. But remember, the profit of the master that you are trying to get something from didn't only come from your labor. It came from the labor of slaves throughout the whole region. America has its footprints in Jamaica, through the bauxite and everything else. America had its footprints in the Dominican Republic. America had its footprints in Cuba. America had its footprints everywhere. So let's go under your assumption that, and again, I don't want it for me. I'm just saying, think about it. Under your assumption, you want the profits from the spoils of what was made.
No. I want the profits from my ancestors' labor. We built this country. And I'm talking about what they did with their money and invested. I'm talking about
I get it. But your country was not solely built by you, brother. Your country was built by the blood of all the people around these regions. And that's what I'm saying. We have to stop thinking like the capitalists.
You need to go do some history lessons. Get to learn our history. Sir, you don't know our history more.
Sir, my brother. I know American history very, very well.
You know your history.
Sir,
you don't know our history.
No, sir. Brother, please. One of the things in becoming a U.S. citizen, okay, is we have to learn the American history. In fact, what you'll find, now, I'm not talking about you now, but what you'll find is that foreigners that come over here and get their citizenship know much more about American history than most Americans. I hate to say it, but that's really the truth. Now, here's the thing. We know about what the Chinese did to build the country. We know about what the slaves did to build the country. We know about this country was built by a lot of the indentured servitude. We know about all this stuff, sir. And all I'm saying is if you really want, the enemy is not the people. The enemy is that person on top. And when we start dividing up ourselves.
It's the United States government. It was in the Constitution about us. It's not, they owe us the 40 acres and the mule. We fought the wars. They didn't do it. The Chinese didn't do it. We did that. We did all that. We did it. All right.
Sir,
Remember, I just want you to understand.
Okay. Sir, let me just say, we'll talk. And so I can get on the subject, we'll talk about this. We'll continue talking about this. But I want to tell you, every black people in America paid the ultimate price. I'm not going to dispute that at all. But let's give due what's due as well. There are a lot of folks that actually made America what America is. Okay, and a lot of us's on the other side of the border as well did it. This country was built by a hell of
1876. Y'all wasn't here in 1876. Marcus Garvey was a Pan-Africanist. He was a Jamaican. He wasn't here in 1867.
Okay, I tell you what, Jacob, let's talk. Right, let's continue talking another time. But I mean, because I think I don't want to talk past each other. Okay, right. I want because I think that's what we're doing to some extent. But let's keep talking. All right.
All right.
Thank you, brother. Peace. Let's go to Harry real quickly, and then I'll get to the other one. Hey, Harry, talk to me.
Good morning, Howard. Good morning, Jack, and good morning, Professor Egberto Willis. You know history very well as far as slavery and all that. You know, as you were telling Jacob there, you understand it very well. You couldn't have become the U.S. citizen that you became if you didn't study and understand it as well. You're a well-educated man with the University of Texas. You know what you're talking about. I wanted to comment on a few things. Melissa is right. If you vote in Donald Trump, he's going to put more tariffs on China, and that's going to get passed down to the consumer. And I really feel for what Howard Reynolds was saying. You, Egberto Willis, myself, Jack, we're getting hosed with this so-called with the grocery store inflation, because like Howard was pointing out there, even if they lower the prices, they'll still make their profit, and if they keep the prices high, they still make their profit. It's greed. We're getting hosed. And now I'll go on and, I was going to talk about with Arnie Arnesen. And I researched it yesterday. Kamala Harris, since she got in the race, has really cut into independence in this state of Texas. It was 24% when Joe Biden was still in the race with independents. Now it's down to 2%. So maybe there's a chance that she can win Texas. But I was looking at the Electoral College map here just before I got on with you. And right now it's Trump 234 and Harris 210. So she's got to win those swing states to keep Trump out of the White House, as we know. And then the other thing I was going to finish off of, if I had been in Chicago last week, I'd have been, because I feel for Rashida Tlaib, I'd have been right there with those protesters protesting, because like I said, I think Kamala Harris is on the wrong side of this with Israel. I know they're trying to work out a ceasefire thing, but those protesters want an arms embargo to Israel, no more arms to them, because they shot over there in Hezbollah over the weekend, and Hezbollah fired back. And that's why I'm voting for Dr. West in third party, because when we talked months ago, a few months back, as you told me, brother, your vote is a protest vote, Harry, and that's the way I feel about it, because I just think all those people need to live in solidarity, and Dr. West is about doing the right thing. That's why I have to stick with him.
All right, let me just say one thing. Voting is a personal choice. Now, when it comes to being in Chicago, if I were in Chicago, I would be out there protesting as well with my Palestinian brothers and my Jewish brothers, and my Palestinian and Jewish brothers and sisters. Remember, people get the wrong idea. This protest is not an Arab protest against Jews or something like that. This is a protest against war. This is a protest against genocide. This is a protest about the mass murder of human beings. That's what this protest is about, and it's around every ethnicity, every religion. If you went out there to Chicago, as I got streams from, that's what you would see. And Ilhan Omar visited, AOC visited virtually. A lot of folks visited for that. And here's the thing: why I can't hold Kamala or Democrats in general on it until we win, until progressives wean themselves off of the the AIPACs of the world, because AIPAC I call AIPAC a clear and present danger to democracy, just as bad as I do Donald Trump. And the reason why, the reason why is they're causing politicians. I mean, it's an unpatriotic being that has the hold on politicians, and when they cross them, I can talk to you about Bauman and Cori Bush, two people that should have won their elections that were derailed by AIPAC. And that's because, again, and it could happen to any Democrat. Not any Democrat, to any politician. But anyway, anything else, Harry, real quick, so I can get to Greg.
Bush and Bowman were about doing the right thing. That's why AIPAC defeat them, because they were about doing the right thing as far as being on the right side and doing the humane thing for the Judean people over there. That's.
Thank you, brother.
One other thing.
Come on in, Greg. Sorry about that. We went a little figure. Go ahead, Greg.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, I just want to talk just a little bit with not Harry, but the caller before about reparations. And you said something about follow the money. So a lot of the wealth in this country is traced back to not just slavery, but when you think about reparations, we have to think about Jim Crow too. And we have to think about prison slavery and the war on drugs, the war on Black and Hispanic people and stuff like that. The wealth has grown by being able to develop your wealth. And when your communities are kept impoverished by not giving loans and stuff like that, so most people in the community have to rent. They can't get a loan to buy a home because of the color of skin and stuff like that. They're kept from creating wealth. That's been going on since the beginning of time. So it is something to think about. I can't remember the community in Ohio. There's been a few communities that have already given reparations. And Ohio is not even a slave state, but they're well aware of the discrimination and racism that kept Black people from their community from developing wealth. So it's not such a bad idea. And also, I have to really get on you about this one comment. And I'm a big fan of yours, but I'm probably more progressive than you are. And you said immigrants know U.S. history. Or most immigrants, I'm not sure you said most immigrants, but you said something about knowing more history than Americans. And I have to challenge you. My wife is an immigrant, and she passed the test, and she studied really hard and everything. But I would not say she knows more history than Americans, especially my students. I'm a social studies teacher, and I teach history. So please be careful when you get a little defensive and something. We have to be careful what we say and control our thoughts and stuff.
Okay, no. Let me just say, you're a social studies teacher, and you know a lot about history and not only that, your students as well. You're probably a darn good social studies student. But let me just say this: I went out several times, and how should I say it? Oh, it seems like they can't hear the callers. I'm going to have to figure that out. Let me go ahead and I see what they're saying. The speakers. Okay, I think they will be able to hear them now. All right, I think you can hear the callers now. That was my fault. Anyway, here's what I've found, and maybe different or whatever. There are certain basics that we learned that we had to learn as immigrants coming in: federalism, state rights, the separation of the states, and my stuff was 30 years ago or more. So we had to learn all those things. And what I find in talking to a lot of people is a lot of folks don't understand things like the separation in the governments, what states can do, what others can do, etc. Something as simple as why it is that, let's look at when somebody says, why is it that President Bush or President Biden can't do X, Y, and Z? Not understanding how the system works. Things like that is what I'm talking about. And I will gather that you ask just about, most of the immigrants that I'm around at least, and they'll be able to tell you all these things that many people here won't be able to tell you. So that's where I'm coming from. As far as, go ahead,
you're a scientist, right? You're a scientist, right?
Yes. No, I'm an engineer. Scientist, I think I call scientists a higher level, man. I'm an engineer.
Because it's true. Scientists, you use the knowledge of scientists create.
Right.
Okay. But science. And with science, there's social science too. And we have to be careful about anecdotal data. personal data and stuff. It's good to use it as examples and stuff like that, but you can't use it as data.
I stand corrected. You are absolutely right.
People in America. So
hold on a second. Let me give you your kudos. That was the best slapback I've gotten in a. That's profound. The way that is profound. Remember science. And remember what's the difference between empirical data. Remember what's the difference between. I love that, folks. That is absolutely true. You're absolutely right.
Hey, I love your show. Keep going on and keep getting even more progressive because progressives love people, life, equality, opportunity. They don't love hate. That's kind of an oxymoron.
And you know what else? I'm going to take one exception. There's no way you could be more progressive than I am. We're going to fight. I don't think you can be more progressive than. All right. But anyway, thank you, brother. I thank you for the commentary. All right.
All right.
Take care. All right, folks. I am lost now. You guys call in and change the complete show. We went from tariffs and storage to Americans, descendants of slavery, to history. Man, you guys just took over my darn show. Anyway, the show title today was supposed to be Kroger Merger is the instantiation of corporate greed. I also interviewed the woman who created the Daily Show with, her name is Lizz Winstead. I interviewed her in Baltimore at our Netroots convention, as well as the Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison, the guy who ran the case against George Floyd. I have an interview with him, and I have an interview with Keith Winstead, but the interview with Keith is too long. I see that I'm getting another call. So what I'm going to tell you guys is both of these interviews, solid interviews that you're going to want to listen to. One on a woman's rights and all that kind of stuff, and the other one on where our democracy goes with Keith Ellison. You can always find that at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Since there's another call coming in, I will go ahead and wait for that. And for those of you who are listening online, I hope that you can actually hear the callers now. So let's go ahead and go to Brother Donald. Brother Donald, come on in.
Good morning, Egberto. How are you today?
I am doing fine, sir. Talk to me.
You always miss the forest for the trees.
Okay.
Melissa bought some drums. She's a percussionist. You like music, so you should ask, are they ornamental or are they actually used, and then start a rapport with them. A nice talk. Who controls the orb that says the money is the money and that's the value? Because if you get 3% for the cost of living and it goes 3%, 3%, 3%, 3%, right? Now, what we have had is because we gave out all this free money, right? People got supplemented because they were down and out for COVID. So they're taking $800, $1,000 or whatever, getting supplemented on their food. And they're buying all this food. So therefore, there were shortages because people had more money to spend. Now all that's done, and guess what? They still want to keep making the same profits they was making off the free money that people got. It's just like when we have a drought. The cattleman has to slaughter his herds because he can't feed them because the cost of hay and the water and everything else. Have you ever seen the price of beef go down? No. 99-cent briskets at $3.49 a pound right now. You might get a little discount. It doesn't matter if there's a push on the market or a pull. There's a shortage or a gain. It's always going to be the same. So you got to find out who controls that orb that sets the value of the dollar. And then if you devalue a dollar by paying for like student loans or bailouts and all this other stuff, okay, if we bail the bank out and in a few years we bail the automotive out and now the bank's setting the price on what the automotive is going to sell for and we still need cars. Ford Motor Company to create assembly line to make the car affordable to the working person, to the individual. We have gotten so far off track. I don't know how we're ever going to get back. But that's all I got to say about it.
No. You got to wait now. Because you fell. Now you said I missed the forest for the trees. I don't know if you meant for the drums or for the economy. So I'm going to assume for both. Let's go with the economy, though, which is the one that interests me the most. You have fallen for the fraud that is our economic system. Let's talk about that. I believe in supply and demand because supply and demand is real. if I have a shortage of something, right? If I have a shortage of something, then I can to kind of be able to I can sell it at a higher price, because if people have money, they'll buy it at that higher price, which sort of happened. But it wasn't because, people say, oh, you give people money. Here's the thing about it. You fall for the capitalist trap that says the following: I will take whatever money the people without price and power has in their pocket and charge them the commensurate price I can get for them. There's this theory in economics called an economic concept that says whatever the market will bear. If you know, there's a drug called, I'm not going to use Ozempic because people are flocking to us like crazy, creating a real shortage. But let's look at what happened in reality. In reality, people got monies in their pockets. A lot of people would have otherwise saved that money. But when the corporate structure realized that money was there, they brought the prices up commensurate with the amount of money they knew people have, even though, remember what I said, even though there were no shortages. And here are my proofs. A lot of the pricing that grocers are seeing came through the energy supply chain. We never had an energy shortage. We never had an oil shortage. In fact, smack in the middle of the pandemic, we had the oil companies raising prices of gasoline as they were taking barrels of oil off the market. That's a statement of fact. That amount of monies charged for gasoline and diesel, etc., went straight up the chain to the farmer who was farming his land, to the fertilizer people who depend on oil for fertilizer. All of these things, from the mere fact that the oil company decided that they were going to rig the market, all those other prices went up, not because of shortages, but because the pricing power of a necessary resource, and they cornered the market. Statement of fact. Secondly, again, no shortages. You could not go to the store and not find things that you wanted. Maybe spot shortages of paper towel here and there because people crazily went and got paper towels and toilet paper. I don't know why. But anyway, that's what they did. But you could always find products, but everything was inflated. Brother, it's a fraud. It's not because Biden gave them money. It's because they knew Biden gave them money so they could, the people with price and power. Listen to that video that I did on price and power. They are the ones who raise the prices. And you know how we know that's a fact? Because when you take a look at the profits of all these corporations, the profits were relative in concert with the price rises, which means their initial cost wasn't all that much higher, Donald. We have to stop falling for the crap that capitalists tell us. It's a system designed to enrich a few. And I can prove it mathematically. And the problem that we have is we have been inculcated, infiltrated, indoctrinated into a system where the evidence of its failure is out there for all to see. You are there to see your money go straight up to the top. The billionaire never has a problem. Under no economy, whether the economy is bad or good, they do well. And until we learn that we are constantly being ripped off and we take it out of our minds, what's been indoctrinated into our minds, we're screwed. Go ahead, my brother, before I go to Paul.
Oh, I'm just waiting for you to come up for the solution. I know you got it because you're smart, because you know how to use an abacus and a slide rule. So that's all I got to say about that.
Oh, thank you, brother. I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you. And yeah, I wrote a book with the solution. It's called How to Make America Utopia. Take away the economy from those who rigged it. Yep, I did write a book about that. But thank you, brother.
Yes, sir. Have a good one. Bye.
You too. All right, let's go to Paul.
Hello.
Hello, Paul.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Economics 101, artificial scarcity. There's no lack in the world.
Oh, I love you. If I saw you now, I'd come and give you a big, big, big hug. Thank you for saying that.
Well, in the late 70s, early 80s, Nixon to Reagan, they went away from the Adam Smith model of economics to the Keynesian model, the free market, laissez-faire. There's raw capitalism, laissez-faire. Free market, if you bag up doggy dung and people are willing to buy it, sell all that you can, versus regulated capitalism, which was torn down beginning with Reagan. John Gorsuch, or the guy on the Supreme Court named Gorsuch, his mom.
Yeah, Gorsuch. Yeah.
His mom was Reagan's hatchet man or hatchet woman, and she got involved in scandal, had to step down. But they took all the guardrails off of our regulatory agencies and imposed, indoctrinated, as you said, inculcated, and basically imposed a Keynesian economic model, free market, and thus went away. Unions, Reagan first ordered business to act the unions. The unions went away. Profits went up 300%. Wages stagnant. They took away the right to deduct credit card interest off of your taxes. You cannot put a student loan in a bankruptcy filing. They took away your ability to, they tax Social Security payments because Republicans hated it from its very inception. And so here we are. And so, we're like frogs in a boiling pot. By the time we realize it's too hot, it's too late to get out. And people need to get out of Facebook and get their face in a book and understand, how we got here. But people, other than folks like you and some others, don't want to talk about causes and conditions. They don't want to connect the dots. Twisted theology has led us into, a church state. The church becomes the state. For example, the King of England right now is also the head of the
Anglican Church.
Head of the Anglican Church. And the framers of the Constitution made it crystal clear that church and state shall be perfectly separate, because democracy is actually a secular political tool for equality. It didn't come from Judeo-Christian values. It came from the Sioux and the Iroquois, which they discovered when the Europeans landed here, that the Sioux and the Iroquois had a democratic form of societies. And so they refined it and tweaked it. And so here we have, the greatest experiment of all humanity, democracy, which over the past 40 years has been destroyed.
Thank you, Paul. I'm running out of time, and I have two more calls that I have to get. But look, you're absolutely right. And, it always warms my soul when I hear somebody that doesn't buy into this crap here. I like neither Adam Smith or, Keynesian at least. The one thing with Keynesian is that it says government should spend to take us out of recession, to make sure we don't go into recessions when they're the last resort. But I want a true free enterprise system. I don't even regulated capitalism. It's still a mover of money, but we can talk about that another time. But thank you so kindly, Paul, for your commentary. All right, let's go to Tag. Come on in, Tag.
Morning,
Tag, I only got about a minute.
Yep. A quick word for Howard this morning, which I think he needs to hear. Inflation is based on the consumer price index. Okay, consumer price index is based on what you pay for something. So if the cost of something goes up at the store, just don't buy it. And if you continue to not buy it, the price will come back down, and then you're not adding to inflation. Inflation is based on what we buy. So
thank you, Tag.
That's my word.
Appreciate my brother.
I went to war to protect America's rights and freedoms. So I take it personally when a 5-time draft-dodging coward like Donald Trump tries to take away my rights and freedoms in return, especially when it concerns my daughters. My girls, gamer girl Abigail and queen of the monkey bars, Miley, are everything to me. But they would never have been born without access to reproductive care. Because after 10 years of struggling with infertility, I was only able to have them through the miracle of IVF. But now, Trump's anti-woman crusade has put other Americans' right to have their own families at risk. Because if they win, Republicans will not stop at banning abortion. They will come for IVF next. They'll prosecute doctors. They will shame and spy on women. And if you think that's far-fetched, just look up what happened in Alabama last year. So let me say to every would-be parent, I see you. I'm with you. And together, in November, we'll send a message to old Cadet Bone Spurs. Stay out of our doctors' offices, and where you're at it, out of the Oval Office too. Look, my struggle with infertility was more painful than any wound I earned on the battlefield. So how dare a convicted felon like Donald Trump treat women seeking health care like they're the ones breaking the law? How dare J.D. Vance criticize childless women on cable news, then vote against legislation that would have actually helped Americans to start families? How dare the GOP endanger the dreams of countless veterans whose combat wounds prevent them from having kids without IVF, punishing our heroes for their willingness to serve? It's simple. Every American deserves the right to be called mommy or daddy without being treated like a criminal. Kamala Harris believes that. So let's make some history and elect her in November. God bless America.
Thank you. Let's go to Ray, real quick, Ray.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a shout. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to Brother Clinton at the convention. You know, in history, all of history shows, if you look at a graph, that he had the greatest economy according to history because he had a surplus, and he was the only president to do that. And while Trump, talks all that, lambastic BS, it's basically Clinton who has the bragging rights, but he never uses them. And I just want to give him a shout out for his humility and just giving shout outs to all the Democrats throughout history.
That is so smart of you, Ray. Thank you very much. Actually, he had the highest, 23 million jobs is what he created. The next person to him was Carter with 10 million jobs in 1 year. In one term. A lot of people don't know this stuff. They just take the propaganda that the Republicans put out there, but it's generally lies. I got to go to Brian Ray because, but let's talk at 3:00 if you're on the show at 3, brother.
All right, cool.
Thank you. Have a good one. All right, Brian, come on in, my brother.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm totally indoctrinated because you rambled on for like 2 minutes and you've never answered Donald's question. And what I got to say is how our economic system is brainwashed everybody, how it doesn't work.
I already told you how. I told you already why.
No, you didn't. You didn't say.
Well, let me tell you specifically in one sentence. If your economic system over time has transferred all the wealth to the top 10 and 1%, then it's a failure. That's the answer. Continue.
Okay. Now, Clinton did not have a surplus. Somebody needs to check their history. And who was going to tax?
There's a difference between debt and actually the amount of debt we have and the budget. He was the only president in the last 50 years that had a surplus when it comes to the budget. That's a statement of fact.
No, he did
Continue,
not.
Sir.
Somebody needs to check their history. Clinton did not have a surplus. Somebody going to check that for me?
Look, I've already checked it at all. You guys like to change definitions depending on who's president. But go ahead, sir.
Okay, that's the statement of the day. Clinton did not have a surplus. It was a proposed surplus. Who worked with him to get this supposed surplus? The Republicans.
The same people. No, wrong. The Republicans, all 100% of the Republicans voted against the Clinton tax increase, and they stated that tax increase would blow the economy up. it turns out that after they passed this tax increase and losing Congress, that the fiscal responsibility that he brought took the economy through the roof. I don't want to hear anything about, it was done under Republicans. No, every single Republican voted against the tax increase that brought fiscal sanity. Then Bush came into office and tanked the economy like Republicans always do, which is why 50 million of the 51 million jobs created over the last since 1989 was by Democrats. And also, if you take a look even further over the last 80-something years, there's been 30 million jobs created under Republican presidents, 80 million jobs under Democratic presidents. So, I mean, this is not something that's just happening now. Republicans simply are terrible for the economy. When we talk about GDP, the same thing applies. The GDP under Democratic presidents is much, much better than the GDP under Republicans. These are statements of fact that that we can talk about, but I got to go to the studio now with Howard Reynolds. Brian, I'm not asking these questions. You can look it up. It's out there for all to see. Come on in, Howard.
Okay, well, I wanted to talk about Brian here for a second. It was a projected surplus. It wasn't an actual real surplus under Clinton. If you would have stayed on Clinton's taxes and Clinton's economic plan, you would have had a projected surplus, not a real one.
But what happened then? Who came into power then again?
Oh,
there you go.
Bush W.
Right. Exactly. Anyway, folks, Jack, real quick.
He says nothing.
Okay. Anyway, folks, love you all. All the entire show that we were supposed to be is at politicsandright.com/newsletter, politicsandright.com/newsletter. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out. Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsandright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It. As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willies.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.